With the courtroom drama reaching its climax, all eyes are on the unfolding saga of the Diddy criminal trial. As the 25th day of witness testimony unfolds, the prosecution is pulling out all the stops to convince the jury of Diddy's alleged cross-country exploits involving male prostitutes. This high-profile case has captivated the nation, with claims of shocking behavior and hidden truths coming to light. As the legal battle intensifies, the courtroom becomes a stage for a dramatic narrative that includes not only charges under the Mann Act, but also RICO accusations, all tied to a series of jaw-dropping incidents. From surveillance footage of a notorious hotel incident to revealing text exchanges between Diddy and Cassie, the trial offers a window into a world of alleged excess and intrigue. As the prosecution wraps up, the anticipation builds for testimony from Brendan Paul, Diddy's former assistant, promising even more revelations. As the prosecution meticulously builds its case against Diddy, the courtroom delves into the intricate details of the Mann Act charges. This federal law, commonly associated with the transportation of individuals across state lines for immoral purposes, is a cornerstone of the prosecution's argument. Delisa Penland, a special agent with the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Southern District of New York, plays a pivotal role in this legal drama. Her testimony is central in illustrating how Diddy allegedly financed extravagant trips, transporting male sex workers across the country. Penland's testimony provides a detailed account of the charges, alleging that Diddy not only spent lavishly on these cross-country excursions, but did so with clear intent, tying directly into the Mann Act stipulations. Her statements are bolstered by tangible evidence, including financial records and travel itineraries, meticulously presented to the jury. This evidence aims to paint a picture of deliberate planning and execution, a strategy intended to leave no doubt in the minds of the jurors about Diddy's involvement. The courtroom atmosphere is charged with tension as jurors are shown a series of text messages and phone calls between Diddy and Cassie, particularly in the aftermath of a violent incident at a Los Angeles hotel. This footage has already been displayed to the jury, but the context provided by the communications adds another layer to the narrative. The prosecution uses these messages to underscore their argument, suggesting a pattern of behavior that supports the charges under both the Mann Act and RICO. But the defense isn't standing idle. They counter with a narrative that paints a different picture of Diddy and Cassie's relationship. By showcasing affectionate and tender exchanges between the two, the defense attempts to humanize their client, suggesting that the relationship was not as one-sided as the prosecution claims. Furthermore, by presenting longer segments of the contentious freak-off videos, the defense aims to challenge the prosecution's narrative, suggesting that the context of these clips might alter the jury's perception. As the trial progresses, these contrasting narratives continue to clash, setting the stage for the next phase of the courtroom battle. And with the looming testimony of Diddy's former assistant, Brendan Paul, the plot thickens. What insights will he bring, and how will they shape the jury's understanding of the case? The prosecution's case against Diddy takes a significant turn as they dive into the complexities of the RICO charges. These charges, rooted in the Racketeer-Influenced and Corrupt Organizations Act, are not merely about individual acts of misconduct, but suggest a pattern of organized criminal activity. This aspect of the case aims to portray Diddy not just as an individual acting in isolation, but as a central figure in a larger network of illicit activities. The courtroom listens intently as the prosecution lays out their argument, connecting the dots between various incidents and communications that allegedly demonstrate a systematic approach to criminal enterprises. Delisa Penland's testimony is once again pivotal, as she outlines how the evidence points to a coordinated effort involving multiple parties and illegal activities. The prosecution's narrative suggests that these actions were not random, but part of a calculated and sustained criminal operation. Further strengthening their case, the prosecution presents a series of digital communications, meticulously pieced together to illustrate the alleged criminal network's operations. These communications, comprising emails, texts, and call logs, are presented as a web of interactions that allegedly supports the RICO charges. The prosecution argues that these interactions reveal a pattern of behavior consistent with organized crime, emphasizing the seriousness of the accusations. The defense, however, is quick to respond, challenging the prosecution's narrative by questioning the interpretation of the evidence. They argue that the prosecution is attempting to weave together unrelated incidents into a conspiracy theory that doesn't hold up under scrutiny. By dissecting the communications and presenting alternative interpretations, the defense seeks to dismantle the alleged connections and cast doubt on the RICO accusations. With both sides locked in a battle of interpretations, the courtroom awaits the testimony of Brendan Paul, who might hold the key to unraveling these complex accusations. His insights could either solidify the prosecution's case or provide the defense with the ammunition they need to dismantle the RICO narrative. What he reveals next could be pivotal in shaping the outcome of this high-stakes trial. As the courtroom drama unfolds, the narrative shifts to a particularly chilling incident that has become a focal point of the trial. This event, captured in surveillance footage, involves a violent confrontation between Diddy and Cassie at a Los Angeles hotel. The footage, already shown to the jury, is a crucial piece of evidence that the prosecution uses to underscore the volatile dynamics of their relationship. It serves as a visceral reminder of the alleged abuse and coercion that underpins the prosecution's case. The prosecution meticulously presents text messages and phone calls exchanged between Diddy and Cassie following this incident. These communications are meant to provide context and insight into the aftermath of the confrontation. The messages reveal a complex and troubling interaction, with the prosecution arguing that they highlight a pattern of manipulation and control exerted by Diddy. This evidence aims to paint a picture of a relationship marred by power imbalances and intimidation, supporting the broader allegations of criminal misconduct. Yet the defense counters with a different narrative, one that seeks to humanize Diddy and frame the relationship with Cassie in a more nuanced light. They present an array of correspondence, showcasing moments of affection and tenderness, suggesting a deeper connection between the two. By highlighting these aspects, the defense attempts to challenge the prosecution's portrayal of the relationship as purely exploitative. They argue that the complexities of personal relationships cannot be fully captured by selective messages or isolated incidents. The jury is left to grapple with these competing narratives, each side presenting a starkly different interpretation of the relationship between Diddy and Cassie. As the trial progresses, the pressure mounts on the jurors to discern the truth amid the emotional and legal complexities presented to them. As tensions in the courtroom reach a boiling point, the upcoming testimony of Brendan Paul looms large. His perspective could provide crucial insights into the nature of Diddy's relationships and potentially reshape the jury's understanding of the incident. What revelations will his testimony bring to light, and how will it influence the trajectory of this high-profile trial? As the trial reaches its pivotal moment, all eyes turn to Brendan Paul, Diddy's former assistant and the prosecution's next key witness. Known for his close association with Diddy, Brendan's testimony is anticipated to shed light on the alleged inner workings of the operation under scrutiny. His potential insights are expected to provide context and clarity on the accusations laid against Diddy, particularly in relation to the transportation of individuals and the broader RICO charges. The courtroom atmosphere is charged with anticipation as Brendan takes the stand. His testimony could offer a first-hand account of the logistics and operations that the prosecution claims were part of a systematic criminal enterprise. Brendan's role as an assistant allegedly involved coordinating travel and other logistics, which could be crucial in substantiating the prosecution's narrative. The prosecution hopes that his testimony will corroborate the claims of organized misconduct, painting a picture of Diddy as the orchestrator of these alleged activities. Throughout his testimony, Brendan is expected to address the nature of his duties and the extent of his involvement in Diddy's operations. His insights could reveal whether the activities in question were part of a larger, orchestrated effort, as the prosecution argues. If Brendan aligns his testimony with the prosecution's claims, it could significantly bolster their case, adding weight to the allegations of a coordinated criminal operation under Diddy's leadership. However, the defense is likely to challenge Brendan's credibility and the interpretation of his role. By questioning the reliability of his testimony and suggesting potential biases, the defense aims to undermine the prosecution's narrative. They may argue that Brendan's involvement was limited or misinterpreted, casting doubt on the alleged connections between his actions and the broader accusations against Diddy. As Brendan's testimony unfolds, the courtroom is poised for revelations that could either reinforce the prosecution's allegations or provide the defense with the leverage needed to contest the charges. The significance of his testimony cannot be overstated, as it holds the potential to sway the jury's perception of the entire case. With the trial at a critical juncture, Brendan's words could indeed be the turning point in this high-stakes legal battle. And as the dust begins to settle on Brendan's revelations, the trial's focus shifts back to the prosecution as they prepare to rest their case. What final moves will they make to solidify their arguments, and how will the defense counter in their quest to exonerate Diddy? As the prosecution nears the conclusion of their case, they prepare to deliver their final arguments, aiming to leave a lasting impression on the jury. The culmination of weeks of testimony and evidence presentation has led to this critical moment, where the prosecution seeks to solidify their narrative of Diddy's alleged criminal activities. They meticulously weave together the various elements of their case, from the Mann Act charges to the RICO accusations, to paint a comprehensive picture of orchestrated misconduct. In these final arguments, the prosecution revisits the key pieces of evidence that they believe demonstrate Diddy's involvement in a pattern of illicit behavior. They highlight the testimony of Delisa Penland, which detailed the transportation of individuals across state lines, and emphasize the digital communications that suggest a broader network of criminal activity. The prosecution frames these elements as interconnected parts of a larger scheme, reinforcing their argument that Diddy played a central role in these alleged operations. The courtroom listens intently as the prosecution presents their interpretation of the evidence, urging the jury to consider the consistency and coherence of their narrative. They argue that the evidence presented over the course of the trial establishes a clear link between Diddy and the accusations laid against him. By methodically summarizing their case, the prosecution seeks to leave no doubt in the minds of the jurors about the validity of their claims. However, the defense is prepared to deliver their counter-arguments, aiming to dismantle the prosecution's narrative and cast doubt on the allegations. They challenge the prosecution's interpretation of the evidence, questioning the reliability and context of key testimonies and communications. The defense presents an alternative narrative, suggesting that the evidence does not conclusively prove the existence of a coordinated criminal operation. As the defense takes the floor to present their closing arguments, they focus on highlighting inconsistencies and potential biases in the prosecution's case. They argue that the evidence, when viewed in its entirety, does not support the prosecution's claims of organized crime. By emphasizing the complexities and nuances of the relationships and activities in question, the defense seeks to sow doubt in the jury's mind regarding the prosecution's allegations. With both sides having presented their final arguments, the jury is left to deliberate on the case's outcome. The trial has been marked by dramatic revelations and intense courtroom exchanges, and now the fate of Diddy rests in the hands of the jury. As they retire to consider their verdict, the world watches in anticipation, eager to see how this high-profile trial will conclude. But the end of the trial doesn't necessarily mean the end of the story. What follows could have profound implications for all involved. As the prosecution calls their final witness, Brendan Paul, the courtroom is abuzz with anticipation. Brendan, Diddy's former assistant, is expected to offer crucial insights into the allegations swirling around the hip-hop mogul, particularly those related to the Mann Act and RICO charges. His testimony is a pivotal moment in the trial, potentially corroborating the prosecution's narrative or offering the defense new avenues to explore. Brendan takes the stand, and his testimony begins by detailing his tenure as Diddy's assistant, during which he allegedly coordinated various logistical aspects of Diddy's operations. The prosecution presses him on his role in arranging travel and events, aiming to establish a link between his activities and the broader accusations of transporting individuals across state lines for illicit purposes. Brendan's responses are measured, but they paint a picture of a man deeply entrenched in the day-to-day operations of Diddy's empire. The prosecution seeks to highlight any instances where Brendan's actions may have facilitated the alleged criminal activities. They focus on communications and transactions that might suggest an organized effort to engage in unlawful conduct. Brendan's testimony, while not overtly incriminating, offers enough nuance to imply that he was aware of the questionable nature of some activities he coordinated. However, the defense is quick to challenge Brendan's reliability as a witness. They question the motivations behind his testimony, suggesting that he might be seeking leniency for his own alleged involvement. The defense argues that Brendan's role was purely administrative, lacking the insight or authority to fully comprehend the nature of the operations he was involved in. By casting doubt on Brendan's credibility, the defense aims to sever the link between his actions and the allegations against Diddy. As Brendan concludes his testimony, the courtroom is left with a mixed impression. His revelations add layers to the prosecution's narrative, but also provide the defense with fodder to question the coherence of the charges. The jury, tasked with piecing together these complex testimonies, faces a daunting challenge. With the testimony now concluded, both sides prepare for their final rebuttals. The prosecution must consolidate their findings into a compelling closing statement, while the defense seeks to dismantle the narrative constructed over the course of the trial. As the trial draws to a close, the jury's decision looms large, promising to bring this high-profile legal saga to a dramatic conclusion. But what will that verdict mean for Diddy and the future of his empire? The world waits with bated breath to find out. As the courtroom empties and the gallery settles into a tense silence, the jury retires to deliberate on the high-profile case that has captured the nation's attention. The weight of weeks of testimony, evidence, and arguments now rests squarely on their shoulders. It is up to them to sift through the intricate web of allegations and counterclaims to determine Diddy's fate. The complexity of the charges, spanning from the Mann Act to RICO violations, presents a daunting task. Inside the jury room, the 12 men and women must navigate the dense tapestry of evidence. They revisit the testimony of key witnesses like Delisa Penland and Brendan Paul, scrutinizing the details of their accounts. The prosecution's narrative of a coordinated criminal enterprise is weighed against the defense's portrayal of unrelated incidents stitched together to form a narrative of guilt. The jury's discussion is intense and deliberate, as they examine the financial records, digital communications, and personal correspondences that have been presented. The jurors are tasked with not only evaluating the facts, but also discerning the credibility and motives of those who took the stand. Brendan Paul's testimony, with its blend of first-hand accounts and potential bias, poses a particular challenge. Was his involvement in Diddy's operations as innocuous as the defense claims? Or does it indeed hint at a larger, orchestrated scheme, as the prosecution suggests? These questions dominate the jury's discussions as they seek to reach a consensus. Throughout the deliberation process, the jurors are reminded of the gravity of their decision. Their verdict will have profound implications, not only for Diddy, but also for the broader conversation around celebrity accountability and the legal system's role in addressing allegations of misconduct. As they inch closer to a decision, the tension in the courtroom and the world watching outside continues to build. What conclusion will they reach, and how will it reverberate through the halls of justice and beyond? In the next section, we will explore the impact of the jury's verdict and the ripple effects it may have on Diddy's career, his public perception, and the legal landscape at large. Stay tuned as we delve into the aftermath of this landmark trial. As we near the conclusion of the Diddy criminal trial, The courtroom drama has reached a critical juncture with prosecutors meticulously presenting their case. Over 25 days of witness testimony have painted a complex picture involving allegations of transporting male prostitutes across state lines, a narrative supported by U.S. Attorney's Office Special Agent Delisa Penland. Her testimony has been pivotal in framing the charges under the Mann Act in RICO against Diddy. The prosecution's case has relied heavily on evidence such as texts and calls between Diddy and Cassie, shedding light on their tumultuous relationship, especially after a notorious incident in a Los Angeles hotel. The defense, however, has been strategic in presenting a counter-narrative, showcasing the intimate and affectionate exchanges between Diddy and Cassie, as well as extended footage from alleged freak-off videos. These efforts aim to challenge the prosecution's portrayal by offering a more nuanced view of the events and relationships at the center of the trial. With the prosecution's case winding down, the courtroom awaits the testimony of Brendan Paul, Diddy's former assistant and alleged drug mule, which promises to add another layer to this intricate legal battle. As the trial progresses, the jury is tasked with sifting through the evidence and testimonies, shaping the final verdict in a case that has captivated public attention.